Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Ari Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay. Usually when Chassan and Kala get engaged, so they usually believe and feel that like they're very similar. You know, we're alike in every way. We look alike, we talk alike, we think alike. We're like perfect for each other. And those similarities start to come out after you're married. You realize that you are not exactly the same in a lot of things. In fact, most things you're not similar. Just being a man and a woman is good enough to be very, very different. Some people might even go so far as to say like there was some kind of mekachtos over here. Like I thought she was a certain way and she wasn't. And like what happened over here? This is not a mekachtos. It's very clear that once you're married, it was totally Ratzon Hashem that you got married. Nobody gets married without it being Ratzon Hashem. They should be married. If their mamish was a real mekachtos, so yeah, in Chanami, the Gemara talks about these situations, but we're not talking about that. We're not talking about those situations. We're talking about difficulties that come up, normal difficulties that come up in the beginning of marriage. We have to accept that this is from Hashem. If you're married, it means that it's from Hashem, and we have to accept it with simcha and with the approach that we're going to work hard. It is normal to be different. Both of you have different upbringings, different experiences, different lessons that you've learned throughout your lives. You've come to different decisions. It's normal that there should be conflict. Each one side is going to be coming from their place, based on the way I grew up, based on the way I saw my parents act. The greatest role models that a person has for marriage are their parents. Whether they're good role models or not good role models, they are the role models. Which is why, unfortunately, the ones who are abused become abusers, because that's what they learn. That's how they become, even though they're the ones who are the most hurt by it, but that's what they learn. That's how they learned how to act. So whether or not you like it or not, they are your role models. Many times people will act like their parents without even realizing it. They don't even know that this is the way that their parents acted. This is very much subconscious sometimes, but sometimes it is conscious. Sometimes people dafka do things. My parent did this. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this specifically. But many times it's not. So you grew up and you had your parents, and she grew up and she had her parents, and they're totally different. All of these factors went in to her, who she is. Hashem put her through all of these experiences, gave her these parents, gave her these friends, gave her these siblings, put her in this school, with these friends, with this neighborhood. Everything is put in one big package and presented to you. She is the way she is for you. Everything about her is for you. So if there's something that you don't like, that's also for you. Maybe it's your place to work on yourself, to be more accepting. Or maybe it's something that you can help her with in a way that we discussed, that it's not critical, not through criticism, that there's a way to help her grow in a certain area that you're her Ezer Kenegdo. You're the one who's helping her to grow, or I'm the one who's growing from it. I'm changing. I'm working on myself because I want to be more accommodating for her. Because even though I don't like the way she squeezes the toothpaste, I can still learn to live with it. There could be silly things like that, or there could be much, much bigger things, which we'll, Bez Hashem, talk about. But it's all a question really of attitude. What's my approach? Am I here to work? Am I committed? This is it. I'm not playing games. This is my life. I'm going to work on it as hard as I need to. So then you'll learn to be mavater sometimes. You'll have to work, and you'll really want to work on communication, and you want to work on your relationship. You don't need to agree on everything. Nobody agrees on everything, but you need to learn how to talk to each other. You need to learn sometimes to give in, and sometimes to say, okay, you know what? I really don't think I should give in, and you really don't think you should give in. So let's go speak to somebody together. Have somebody else be machriya. If we're mamish stuck, and we both want something, And we both think that we're right, so let's go. When I moved here to Eretz Yisrael, I had a machlokes with my wife. Big machlokes. Where should we move to? We both agreed we're moving to Eretz Yisrael, but I wanted to move to Yerushalayim, and she wanted to move to Beit Shemesh. So where are we going to move to? So what did we do? We spoke, and we still had a machlokes even after speaking. We still didn't agree. So I went to my Rebbe, and my Rebbe said to move to Beit Shemesh, of course, like my wife says. Doesn't mean the wife's going to be right every single time, but there were certain factors, and those were the factors that there was a certain understanding that even, traveling to Jerusalem, whatever it is, but that's what you do. You have to communicate. You have to try to work things out. In most situations, you can work it out on your own, as long as you're willing to listen, and as long as the other side is willing to listen. And that's what it means to build up a relationship, respectful communication, and understanding the other one's needs. And that's something that takes time to build up, and you need to work it out. A guy told me a story not so long ago that after being married a certain amount of time, he was like, "Oh, yeah, we built such an amazing kesher. We're fantastic," and he wanted to go on vacation. And they were talking about going to a different country for a long span of time. Let's say it's close to a month. And the wife said out loud, "How can I leave my parents for a whole month? How can I leave her for a whole month? My parents, how can I leave them for a whole month?" And he told me, he was thinking at the time, "What do you mean? You can be with me. Why? Like, what's the big deal? We're going to be together. Why is it so? Why you can't leave your parents for a month? You got married. You don't live in your parents' house anymore." So he said he realized, wait a second, maybe the kesher is not as strong as I thought. Maybe we're not like totally. I thought it was. A lot of times men feel like that way before women do. I feel like, wow, things are great, amazing. We're super connected. But when something like this happens, it's like kind of like a sign. Wait a second, I still have work to do. I don't feel 100% connected. If she's talking like this, it means she doesn't feel comfortable with me enough yet to do something like this. It means she's still somewhat disconnected. We still have to work on it. Yeah, there is a klal ishto k'gufo and the halachic parameters of ishto k'gufo. So what it says in Shulchan Aruch, it says in Shulchan Aruch. But don't automatically assume the moment you put the ring on her finger that all of a sudden, we're 100% connected and, she's 100% with me every single. No, it takes a long time to build up a relationship where a woman feels that her husband is totally with her and she can totally trust him in every single thing. Certainly, if there's reasons why you can't trust him, that's why even we say lying for shalom is not a good idea when it comes to shalom bayis. Not at all. It's much better to tell the truth and build up your kesher, build up your trust for each other, and get hit over the head because you told the truth, than to make up a story that even if this one story she's not going to find out that it was a lie. But if a person does that and he does it again and again and again, then it's not going to be good. That will not be good for shalom bayis, and she will start to feel it. And the lack of trust is the biggest, worst thing that you can do for your marriage. If a wife or a husband, for that matter, if either side feels that I can't really trust the other one, that is poison. That is outright poison for a marriage. And certain situations where I've seen, like, I can't imagine how a couple can stay together after something like this. Things that were hidden from each other. People get divorced over things like this, which is why lying for shalom is not over here. This is not the place for it. Why are you late? Why did you come home? They say a joke that it takes a while for a woman to realize that Shacharis doesn't take 20 minutes and Mariv doesn't take a half hour. Right? Because why is he coming back so soon after Shacharis, and why is he coming back so late after Mariv? Why? Because he's hanging out with his friends. That's why. After Mariv, he sees a bunch of guys, hasn't seen in a while. They schmooze for a little while. He looks at the clock, and it's 45 minutes later. That doesn't happen to everybody. Of course it happens. Of course, my wife was waiting for me at home. So what's he going to say? My Rebbe gives a great example of this. So you come home, and she's waiting for you. Where were you? I was waiting and waiting and waiting. I was scared. What happened to you? And he said, well, the car didn't start. The car didn't start. It's not a lie. He didn't put the key in the ignition and turn it, so it actually didn't start, right? That's not a lie, right? So it doesn't work. No, it works now. Now it works. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It works. So something like this is just ripe for doing it again and again and again. Instead of saying, "Oh, I was hanging out with my friends after Mariv. I haven't seen them. I was schmoozing for a little while," and then she starts crying. You love your friends more than you love me, right? This sounds like a little bit silly, but this definitely happens. So I know she's going to do that again. It's already like the third time this month. So I'm just going to say something else, and then she won't cry, and everybody will be happy. I won't get screamed at. She won't be sad. What's bad? Yeah, what's bad is this undermines the honesty and the trust in a marriage, and that is going to undermine a marriage completely. That is the worst possible thing. To tell him the truth, and she starts crying, and she apologizes and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to be more sensitive to you, and I'm going to, if I meet some friends, I'm going to call them and say, ask you is okay. I haven't seen my friends in a very long time, and it's just nice to spend a few minutes with them. As long as you're upfront with it, and it goes much easier. Or I'm going to make sure to get back. If I tell you I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back. That is the much better way of building up this kasher. I want to talk a little bit now about just another few minutes. I know we started a little bit late, but this new topic is very, very sensitive, and I think very, very crucial. We're not going to be able to get through the whole thing today, but the topic is, where does a woman's qualities, where does her nature come from, and how does it play out? Some of the examples over here happen to everybody. Some happen only here and there. But the same yesod applies to a lot of people. So when you hear this, I thought this only happens to me. It happens to a lot of people, and it comes from the same shorish. How it plays out in each house is dependent a lot on you, but the ideas are very, very similar. The shorish of a woman is from the midah of gvura or the midah of din. When you look physically at a man and a woman, the midah of chesed is the midah of giving. You're constantly giving. The midah of gvura or din is the midah of taking something in, limiting it, and making something out of it. You see that physically, that's what a man does. A man gives shefa, and the woman uses it to create something. Strength. No, it's a midah. It's that's why I'm saying it's gvura means strength. Strengthening means to hold things in. That's what it means. It means to limit. So classically, we see that by Avram and Sarah. Avram was chesed. Avram was a pillar of chesed, and Sarah was gvura, which is why Yitzchak was also gvura din, came from Sarah. Lemaise, this midah of gvura, which is part of the way she's created physically, she's the one who takes in the zera of the man. The zera of the man is millions. There are millions, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of zera that a man gives out. Chesed b'shefa, tremendous amount of chesed, but a woman takes it in only one, and limits it, but grows it. A man goes and brings parnasa, and a woman takes it in a home and uses it to bring out all the things in the home, to make sure that the home runs. So that is the midah of a man and a woman. There are a lot of side things that come because of that. Part of the midah of gvura of din could also lead a woman to become very angry or to scream. It can come out in very, very extreme ways, crying and accusing her husband of things. This does happen. Even some of these things are like, sometimes they come out, they're very, very silly. Like, what are you crying about? So we can always blame it on the hormones, right? But this is a woman's nature. This is the way she is. We can't belittle it, making it that it's not important, because it's her. You're belittling her as who she is. If it's related to
a few years ago, but I like, because she said you needs to be the sturdy thing in her life. You're
yes.
So I'm asking you, because if we're giving her unsturdy stuff, like she's like
a man. Her nature is as it is. A man has to be ready to interact with his wife as she is, and because her nature is to go to extremes sometimes. Yes, some of that is physical because of the hormones, but that's who she is. the more a man is strong, and maybe this will answer your question, the more that she'll be able to hold on. She won't go to extremes, and she'll see how caring her husband is, and she'll see that she can really rely on him. Many times we don't even realize it. This is a subconscious test that a woman is giving to her husband. She doesn't even realize that's what she's doing. A woman can say things that seem to be totally out of line. Certain things like, well, if you don't like it, why don't you find yourself some other wife? Whoa. Like, why did she say something like that? Well, why don't you divorce me and get somebody else? Oh, why did she say that? She said that because, again, it could be very subconscious, a test. She wants to hear, what's her husband going to say? What's her husband going to say? Is he going to say, well, maybe I will? That is totally wrong. That is totally wrong because you just failed the test. She needs to know that you're 100% with her. If you say something like, how could you even say that? It hurts me so much that you think such a thing. How could I ever do such a thing? I love you so much. How could I ever trade? It's so silly. I can't even say the words. So soon she might start crying and apologize, but in her heart, she'll be singing because that's what you wanted to hear. That's exactly what she wanted to hear. She didn't even realize, like, why would you say such an extreme thing like that? Why would you do something like that? Why are you accusing your husband? Right? Why don't he go get yourself some, maybe in a difficult time where she's bleeding, whatever. Go, I heard they're going to matter to Kanas Rabbeinu Gershom. Yeah, you can go get another wife. Maybe get a Pilegesh, right? Why would you say something like that? Don't you care about the kesher? Of course she cares about the kesher. Of course she does. So why is she saying something like that? She's saying something like that because she wants to hear that you care about it. That's what she wants to hear. She wants to know that you care about it. If you would say the first thing to her, well, maybe you should go get a new husband. That would be like, mamish be nifal her. She would be, wouldn't know what to do with it. Which is why one of the Rabbi Victor Miller writes about the 10 commandments of marriage. I'm assuming that he wrote this for men. He said, never say the word divorce. Never. Because that's already when you say that, it's kind of like a double standard, but what are you going to do? This is life, right? For a woman to say it to a man, she's saying it like, because she wants to hear the opposite. If a man would say it to a woman, she's going to take this completely seriously. Like, that's already a massive breakdown in a marriage. Why? It's the different natures of men and women. So don't worry that these things happen. Don't. It's normal. Your job in those situations is to be mechazik her. She's angry. Understand that maybe she actually has a good reason to be angry and apologize if she has a good reason. She's accusing you of things. Sometimes women even, they go so far. Not only that, you've been this way since we got married. Right? We never discussed this before. This is a new issue. And all of a sudden now, you've been this way for the last 10 years? Like, wow, how did that happen already? A little bit extreme? Yeah, from even in Shidduchim I heard about this, about you. Whoa. Like, no, it's a little bit extreme, but realize that this is mamish part of her nature. A man can never compare his wife to any other woman. That includes his own mother or his own sisters or anybody else or even his wife's sisters. He should never ever compare his wife to any other woman. First of all, you never really know what's happening in the other person's house. Even, let's say, your own mother. Yeah, you know what your mother was like when she was a newlywed. You know the difficulties that she went through when she was a newlywed. You know that, or even after marriage. At what point did you recognize, your parents' marriage? At what point? Subconsciously, yes, but the real relationship, the difficulties between a husband and wife, if they're doing the right thing, is going to be behind closed doors. They're not gonna have their disagreements in front of their children. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to have this. Will the children know that there are disagreements? Yeah, they'll know. But it's still an appropriate thing when they disagree, that it should be in private. But do you really know the difficulties that your mother had or that your sisters had when they got married? And when people are in public, everybody looks good. Nobody, unfortunately nowadays people do air their dirty laundry out for everybody to see it, but many people still hide the difficulties that they have in their marriages. So when people look like they're so happy and you compare yourself to them, why do they look so happy? So really, you're not seeing a full picture. So there's no reason ever to compare your wife to anybody else. A woman can get hysterical about things, and she can be makpid on very, very little things. It's not even necessarily in a fight. It could be like very regularly. The only way is to answer her softly and caring. The more she sees that you care about her, the more that she sees that you answer her back softly without raising your voice, the more she'll be sensitive to you. Yes, some women who do have anger management problems, probably no different than a man who has anger management problems that needs help. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the realm of normal. One last thing for today, and maybe we'll continue with this topic next week. Next week will be the last year. But there's a concept called noshim daitun kalos. Noshim daitun kalos means they are lightheaded. What does that mean? It means a number of different things, but one of the hagdaras is something we'll call girly. Women are girly. We don't want men who are girly. If you have men who are girly, that's a little bit weird. But women have a certain way that they can be flighty, jumpy from one thing to jump from one thing to the next. There are certain midos in this girliness that she was given by HaKadosh Baruch Hu in order that she can be a good wife and mother. These things are completely normal. They're completely normal. Sometimes you might, when you were dating, I thought they were cute and nice, but now that I'm married, sometimes they annoy me. No, that's the way Hashem created her, and you have to be sensitive to them and take her as she is. A woman can be very easily swayed by compliments or sweet words. This is something that is very, very, you have to be very, very careful with, because for a husband and a wife, that's a wonderful thing. But if you're interacting with other, a woman with other men or a man with other women, these things can create very, very inappropriate situations, like we've discussed in the past. This is a good midah for her when she uses it internally. And maybe some of the other nafkaminas we're going to bring out next week. But Lamaisa, this is something that she needs in order to run a home, in order to be able to raise children, that she should be able to quickly jump from one thing to the next. A man has much more of an ability to focus on one thing, to work on a project, to build it up. A woman has to be able to jump between the washing machine and the stove, and this one is in the bath. And then she got a phone call about this thing, and she has to be able to move from one thing to the next very, very quickly in order, multitasking, right? Women are much, much better at multitasking than men are, and they're created that way. That's what I mean, dait and kalos, that their mind are kal, they're light, so you can move from one thing to the next. Sometimes, because of that, you're not doing each job 100%, but therefore there could be mistakes made because of it. Big mistakes sometimes. A woman can get very overly emotional and make bad mistakes because of it. So that's just part of her nature, and this happens to everybody. Now, a man is understanding, and he's there to fill in the gaps and to not be super makpid when she makes mistakes, even if they're big mistakes, and even if those mistakes are going to cost them, whether they're going to cost them because she's going to be usher for longer, or it's going to cost them in money, or it's going to be other things. The more a man is understanding, the more the wife will feel that my husband is really, really with me, the stronger their bond will be. The more that midah of gvura, of din, will be the midah that will create that bond instead of separating the bond. Okay, we'll continue.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.